head up the environmental team. I've been with them for 3.5 years now, and we're growing as a business, which is really, really good. The EIANZ gave us a range of pointers to have a look at, and both Di and Ian, yes, I did. You're not reading. About what you should look at, perhaps to talk to you guys. And Di's touched on them, as has Ian. The first one for me was how do you kickstart your career? Now, this is really interesting. This is a bit introspective from my perspective, from my side of things, my perspective. It was interesting to look back and have a think about how I got to where I am. And I think you're going to hear a lot of repetition throughout this evening about what you should do and perhaps what you should be looking at in the future. Talking to people and being open to opportunity is really, really important. Networking, being part of these sort of events, I don't think I can stress enough how important it is to be part of this. My job is all about knowing people. It's about who you know, not what you know to some extent, even though what I know is a bit general. I did an undergrad in environmental engineering, and my thesis was on phytoplankton succession in the Swan River. It's probably fair to say that I have not done anything in relation to phytoplankton in the Swan River, nor its succession since that time. But it did kick me off in a certain direction and allowed me to land a job with the Swan River Trust, initially typing data into a database, because they gave me all my data for my thesis. They got me on that contract basis and gave me other opportunities as they recognised that I could actually type data into a database, and they asked me to do other things, prepare letters, do some water quality sampling from time to time. I actually ended up going out and installing stream gauges on a lot of the tributaries and drains to the Swan River. So that's probably why we've got a massive, massive problem, because I was on the theodolites trying to work out what level this stream gauge should be in. This is 10 minutes to go. But I found a mentor in those early days, Neil Dixon, who's...
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you poor soul.
No, Neil was good, professionally and personally. And again, this is one of the other things I think is really important. Find somebody you know, who you like, who you can talk to about your career. I ended up in the regulators side of things for about 8 years, and in my view, there is no better training ground for prospective environmental professionals. If you want to work in the environmental game, you have got to know the legislation at some stage. And there's no better place to understand the legislation, in my opinion, than being a regulator yourself. Yes, it comes with a little bit of power, but with great power comes great responsibility.
Thanks, Spider-Man.
Yeah, this glass is just for show. Being... Thanks, mate. And down there as well. That opportunity as a regulator was really, really important. I loved the work, I loved being a regulator. It gave me an exposure to a range of different industries and a different range of components and future clients as well. I met so many different people, part of the community, part of the industry. And I think if anyone is ever interested in starting out in a career as an environmental professional, my first advice would be to start out as a regulator if you can. Second question we had is, if you could talk to your student, early career self, what is the one learning you would impart? I've got about 20. Be open to changes and be open to opportunities. Di said it really well. I think for me, and it sounds like for Di as well, I floated. I was a little bit like a cloud. I was pushed here and there and everywhere in my career. I don't think a career direction is really important in the early stages of your career. Don't worry if you don't have this goal, this lofty goal on the hill at the end of the day. You'll find that. You'll find where you want to be through being guided by other people, through being guided by experiences. Be guided by your work and the opportunities that it brings. My next advice is piece of advice is one that I always talk to myself about. Allow yourself to be bad at things. It's very, very important. I'm bad at pretty much everything. You're not going to be the best at everything that you do. But the important thing is to recognise that. To recognise that you can improve in certain areas, but to recognise that there are going to be people out there, like these esteemed people on the panel here, who are better at things than you. Surround yourself by those people. Use them for advice. They're going to make you look better at the end of the day, and you're going to learn from them. So allow yourself to be bad at things. I think that's very important. And don't be afraid to ask other people, like Di, Mitch, Ian, for help. Those people are invaluable. Your mentors, your people that you trust and know in the industry, as regulators, as proponents, all of those people are very, very important to you as you move on. There are some phenomenally smart people out there. They may not necessarily be the easiest people to get on with in the world. These boffins are very, very hard sometimes to play with, but they are phenomenally smart and can often give you the piece of information that you need to get on with the job that you're doing. Find something outside of work that's important to you. Environmental practice, consultancy, industry is a hard thing to do. It's quite often being stretched between an ideal, a green ideal, if you want to put it that way, what you should be protecting, and what the industry wants you to do. And it can be stressful. So find something outside of work that is important to you and use that as an opportunity to de-stress. Di's already talked about finding someone out there, a mentor, someone you can talk to. I think that's very important, and you can have more than one. Personal, professional mentors are very, very important. People that you know and trust that are always going to help you. And having friends in all places is extremely invaluable. Friends as regulators, friends as consultants, friends, if you're not worried about where they belong. They're all really, really important to you as you move in your career. The final question I had was, in a challenging market, how have you differentiated yourself? Ian? I'm a generalist, and I'm pretty proud to admit that, to be honest. As a consultant in my role, I think it's a good thing. I know enough to be dangerous about a lot of different areas, but that knowledge allows me to understand when I need to seek professional advice. And I'll go to these people on this panel when I need to. There are people out in the audience, Belinda, Jerry here, who are extremely smart people. And I know when I need to go and use them for advice. I recognise that I'm not good at certain things. I was an average student through uni and still am to a certain extent. So using these people is very, very important. But coming back to what Ian said, I have an interest. That interest has developed over a number of years, and I progressed that. I enjoy dealing with legal issues and the challenge of dealing with legislation, what can be approved, what can't be approved, dealing with lawyers, dealing with the regulators. That sort of interest for me has allowed me to further my career in relation to the key bits of legislation that I deal with. And this is, as Ian said, how I've differentiated myself to some extent by following this line of interest. I now have a Master of Laws as a result of this interest. It doesn't mean I can practice in that area, it doesn't mean I'm a lawyer, doesn't mean I'm an expert to any extent, but it does show that I'm prepared to continue to learn. And I'm prepared to give them some time to understand certain subject matters and certain legal issues, and demonstrates to certain people that I understand the legal concepts, perhaps in some instances as well as a lawyer might do. The people that I work with, colleagues, clients, the regulators, see that passion, see that interest that I have. And I work with them to provide what I call a quasi-legal opinion on certain matters and guide opponents and clients through legal matters that otherwise they may actually have to get a lawyer involved in. And I think for me as a consultant, that's where I really enjoy playing, that's the work that I really enjoy doing. Being able to provide that strong legal advice that may cost other people a huge amount of money to get a legal opinion, and perhaps provide a more practical outcome than just a straight legal argument. Clients also recognise that I don't do a lot of typical consultancy things. I don't particularly like marketing, for example. And consultancy, and Rich is good at this, consultancy is about marketing. It's about marketing yourself and marketing your business and your skills. I find it hard work, and if I'm honest, and I can use this sort of term, I find it a little bit of a boys' club. No? Yes? Yeah, okay. It's part and parcel of what we do, though, as a consultant, but in my opinion, the best marketing that you can do is to provide a high level of advice that is consistent, that is of a quality that people can rely on, and allows them to achieve their project goals. It's very, very important that as consultants, people come back time and time again. And then the only way that they're going to come back to you time and time again is if you continue to provide a high level of advice, you provide integrity in what you're saying, and you don't waver from your professional opinion. And I think that is the best marketing that you can do, far better than shaking hands, kissing babies, having a deal with clients. Kissing babies and shaking hands. Shaking babies and kissing hands is another way of doing it. Time, cost and quality. All of those things go hand in hand with anything that you do. And as a consultant, they're the three pillars that we rely on. You can provide an outcome that meets the client's requirements in terms of time, in terms of the cost that you've agreed to, and in terms of the quality of the outcome. If you hit those marks, clients are going to come back. And again, best bit of marketing that you can ever do. In summary, because I know we're running out of time, I think be yourself. Don't let your career or your personality be shaped by anyone else. Don't try to be someone you're not. I'm the worst person at pretending to be someone else. It's a really, really hard thing to do, and invariably you get found out. Don't try to be anyone else. You've all got particular skills, particular passions, particular interests that are going to guide your career in the future. Challenge yourself. Channel those interests and career and passions. But don't be afraid and be open to allowing yourself to find new goals and new interests. That idea of this career path that is set in stone for you right now, I think is an absolute virtue. It's not going to happen right now. Allow yourself to be guided, as Di said, with where your career takes you. And being confident in who you are is of utmost importance. Realising and recognising that you can add value, however small, is a lesson that I learnt early on, but I keep having to relearn through my career. And I think that's one of the fundamental lessons that you can take away, is you are going to be able to add value. There is something that you can do that is better than anyone else. It's just about finding that and working through that. And that will take you years. Like I'm in my early 30s. And we still haven't found that yet. We're still working through where our career is heading. I quite like that. I think it's a nice way to be. I think it's important that for some of you, you're never going to find a career path that you can hang your hat on and say that's where I want to go. So allow yourself to be yourself, allow yourself to make mistakes, and allow yourself to be guided and shaped by what opportunities come up.
Now, Mitch, you do have 15, but we do want to make sure we get questions in.
You do have 15, but I've actually only got 5. If you're a young female in the environmental consulting industry, can you stand up, please? Quickly.
Define young.
If you're a female in the environmental consulting industry, stand up please. 1. Seriously? If you're a female looking to get into the environmental consulting industry, stand up please. If you're female, stand up please. If you're male, stand up please. Now that we've all stood up, sit down.
Oh, that was way too hard.
No,
That was way too hard.
Alright, I'm going to give you an underdog story. I graduated high school in 1990, so I put a date on myself straight away. I did not get into university. I actually got into the environmental consultancy industry, luckily for me, through friends and networking, and people have spoken about that a lot already. It literally was the people that I knew. They were biologists that I knew that needed help. They needed a hand, they needed help out in the field. I volunteered, I went out and I actually did some work and established a bit of a reputation. Managed to get into the industry literally through the back door without any type of degree whatsoever. I did not get into university. I was a below average student. There was a recession in the 1990s, so that did influence how hard it was to get into uni, but I did not get into university at all. So that gives everybody hope. If I did it, then anyone can do it. Now I have been through the university system. I have a double major in zoology and geography. I have first class honours in zoology done in France, and I have a PhD with distinction in ecophysiology, publications, the whole bit. I didn't get into university. So if you're struggling and you think you're not going to make it, hang on to that hope, because you will get there in the end. So when I do these types of talks, I always kind of, I label them playing with snakes will get you nowhere, because that's something that my dad told me, and I love my dad to death, so I'm not having a dig at all. But my dad told me when I was really young that playing with snakes was going to get me absolutely nowhere, and that I should go out and get a real job. Well, actually, it has gotten me very, very far. Currently, I own an environmental consultancy called Animal Plant Mineral. Is that a plug? We do that? Yeah. Private environmental consultancy called Animal Plant Mineral, and we are currently working in WA, Queensland, Northern Territory and New South Wales doing biological field survey work all over the country. This year I've logged nearly 50,000 Ks in travel, going to all different destinations doing biological surveys all over the place.
And he puts it on Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, it's all on Facebook. It's all on Facebook. You know, you might have also seen me on such documentaries as. No, I'm joking.
And he watches himself on Qantas flights and then posts it on Facebook.
Yeah, you can actually watch it on Facebook. Anyway, that's a different story. So look, as I said, at the end of the day, I just want to get that message across that no matter how much you're struggling, no matter how much you're finding it hard to differentiate yourself from everybody else, if you do what these guys are saying and you capture that thing about you that differentiates you from everybody else and you hang on to that and you make something out of that, then there is hope for you for employment, there is hope for you for careers, there is hope for you for basically any opportunity you want to take in this industry. Since 1990, we collectively have been through possibly about 4 major downturns in the industry. So there was the 1990 recession that we nearly had to have.
No, it was the recession that we had
to have. Sorry, they had a recession that we had to have. Then in the late 90s there was a massive downturn that went into the 2000s. There was the GFC, which I didn't think was long enough to actually teach the young people of today a decent lesson. Really?
Not in Australia.
And then there was the most recent downturn that's been incredibly painful and really, really hard to endure. There was a period during the growth period of employment where we were literally chasing down graduates and showing them our beer fridge and telling them what sort of Christmas functions that we had in order to get them to want to work for us. I kid you not, I literally had interviews with graduates where I had to meet them on a bench in the middle of like Karrinyup shopping centre and like nail them down for 5 minutes and beg them to come and work for me. I had people coming in from the eastern states to actually do biological surveys. I had to import people from the eastern states to come and do biological surveys over here. Okay? We have just come out of a period where some of our graduates even some of the like most awesome graduates that have come out of like universities have gone a year or 2 years without actually being able to find employment. So it goes from up here to down here, and it really is very hard emotionally for you guys to actually cope with that as, you know, young graduates that are looking for work. But we are on the up at the moment. Things are never going to be what they were. I'm never going to show you my beer fridge again. I'm never going to make promises about what we're going to do for our Christmas function. But things are on the up at the moment. We've just gone through a period of 4 years or something like that since we've had decent, dependable biological surveys that we know are going to come in. We can rely on them, we can depend on them. They're going to be big bang surveys, they're going to require lots of people, lots of field work, you know, all of that sort of stuff. It's been 4 years since we've had that sort of work. It's all been really sort of like faint pulse sort of biological survey work and faint pulse kind of environmental consulting that we've all tried to struggle through to get to where we are now. But we are on the up. So if you guys are graduating, if you're getting out there and looking for jobs, if you're feeling frustrated or you have been feeling frustrated for the last couple of months or 12 months or whatever, keep some hope alive, because it's definitely getting better, and there's plenty of jobs that are starting to emerge out there. Our company went from basically myself in 2008 at the beginning of, great time to start a company at the beginning of the GFC, awesome, right? It grew to be reasonably large, I mean as good as where we wanted it to get to, and then obviously with the downturn it has hit us pretty hard like everybody else. We've gone down to about a third of our size, but we've now built back up again and we're starting to re-employ. So, you know, and we're starting to get these really fantastic surveys that we actually like are so amped to get out there and do. So there is really a lot of hope for you guys. As the guys said, you've really got to differentiate yourself. You've got to find that thing that makes you different, and you've really got to sort of play on that. The networking thing is really important. I mean, we are a table of people that all basically know each other. We've all been in the industry. Perth is a really small place. Di's been one of my clients, and I think you might have even done some contract work for me at some stage as well. So, you know, you never know. Like, one of the things that really spins me out is like, I can take students that are like graduates that have just come out of uni, and they're all like little and kind of like little pupa and spotty and all that sort of stuff, and like take them in and to the field and like develop them and, you know, get their experience, develop their profile and their ability and all that sort of stuff, and then 5 minutes later I turn around and I'm bloody working for them. You know, they're my clients. Like, this industry in Perth is so small. We're all connected. We're all interrelated. So what you do, what you say, how you behave, how you interact with somebody today is going to have a significant influence about how they perceive you in 3 or 4 years, when either you're going to be working for them, or they're going to be working for you, or you're going to be their boss, or, you know, you're going to be their client or their customer or whatever. So, you know, that whole networking thing, particularly in Perth, is really important. I really don't have much more to say than that, other than, you know, it has been an awesome career. Would I do it any differently? No, right? Even not getting into uni like straight away out of high school was probably actually a good thing for me, because I had that find myself time, and then when I actually finally did make it to uni, I actually paid attention. It's kind of that mature age thing, you know what I mean? You know, and although I was the most immature mature age person ever to go to uni, you know, so I think that, you know, there's so much hope out there at the moment, and, you know, being involved in things like this, and, you know, like I had paper, I had notes, I had all that sort of stuff there, but just seeing you guys out there actually come in, you know, out on a Wednesday night to come and, you know, talk about these sorts of issues, it just gets me really excited, and I think it's an awesome career, and, you know, go for it. You know, good time.
Before we open to questions, just a couple of quick things. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one, and put your photo on it.
And watch your Facebook settings, please.
Yeah.
Seriously, no, I'm not joking. I will stalk you on Facebook.
This guy here who's got less hair than I do, he needs a LinkedIn profile.
It's really important. In the in a day and age where we don't use the standard letter